Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Hey everybody, Kevin Jackson here. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. kjradio.com. So happy that you've joined me today. You can do whatever you want with your time, and when you spend it with me, I'm honored. I really am. Anyway, the spirit of the show today is going to be about cooperation. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because Donald Trump did something that I think is somewhat revolutionary in politics. And that is, he decided, we're going to look at this DACA situation. I'm going to bring in these knucklehead moronic leftists. We're going to hear them out. We're going to give them a seat at the table. I want them to feel like they're building this plan. I swear, I watched this and so many things came to mind. So in sales, we have this thing called transferring ownership. And I've talked about this before, but it's probably a good time to review it. And what you do is you go into a corporation or you're meeting with a board of directors the same way Donald Trump met with these folks. And you say, okay, let's look at all the ideas. Now, you already know what you want. So what happened was Feinstein comes in, and I'm going to play the clip here a little bit later. But Feinstein comes in and she says, look, we need DACA. We've got a certain amount of time. We got to have DACA. And then one of the congressmen, GOP, says, well, you can't just have DACA without security and yada, yada. And well, what was funny is you watch Trump, they list these three things out. And Donald Trump says, yeah, we also have to have, I forget, I think, what did he say? He added two other things. Visas. We gotta have only the best coming in. Well, I forget how he framed it, but there were two other things that he asked for. And the point is not that, because I'll get to it later on. But what he did is he's saying, okay, crafted, but here's some ideas. I'm just putting these out there. But what was really cool about it was how he said, no. This is going to be your work. I'm not here to tell you what to do. This is your work. I'm just going to throw some ideas out. And so when they bring it back to him, he's going to go, wait a minute, didn't somebody suggest that we have to bring in only the best? What do he call it? Honor-based or, something like that, merit-based, and somebody, oh, yeah, that was brought up. Okay, I'm watching this guy do exactly what you have to do with large companies where you've got institutional thinking. I want you to think about a Fortune 100 company that's worth billions of dollars, 50 billion or above, and everybody in there has been there, that has been around. They built their fiefdoms and they don't want to let go of their power. And you come in as this duty consultant and you say, you need change over here, change. And everybody's going, how's this going to affect my pay? Is it going to out me as not being effective enough? Years of waste, mismanagement, etc. They all get defensive. It's very rare that somebody goes, no, we run at the top notch, because they wouldn't have you in there. And unless it's a review where the guys go, look, we're just tweaking the process. Most of these guys are running scared. Congress runs scared. They're scared because they aren't going to get reelected. They've made promises. They've got their agendas or whatever. Trump's not running scared. He's the consultant. He's coming in saying, well, what about this? Have you thought about fixing that? Think about what I just said to you. Donald Trump he's come into America not as a role that, I'm going to run this thing. He's saying, no, I'm a consultant looking at all the little problems that that have been created. And it's shaking the foundation of the people who are afraid because they don't know how to fix it. They've got their agendas. And I'll use a perfect example. I went into a company that has 22 different divisions, and some of them actually are complementary to each other, and others have nothing to do with the business. So first thing I said is, why are you in these businesses that have nothing to do with the business? But that's a whole other thing. But the complementary businesses weren't buying from each other. So imagine if you made a car and you didn't buy your wheels from one of your own divisions. You get what I'm saying? Or you didn't buy the engine from one of your own divisions or the drivetrain. And I would say, why aren't you buying? And I went into this company. I said, why aren't you buying the parts from each other? And one of the guys goes, man, sometimes it's more difficult to do to actually do this inside of the company than to go to an outside vendor. Well, red flag. It should be easier to do business with yourself than anybody else. So that's number one. Number two, he says, well, being honest with you, Kev, we don't always have the best price. Okay, well, that's flag number 2, because number 1, your division should be competitive unless you're the Neiman Marcus and the other guys are the Walmarts. But in this case, it really wasn't. But okay, we can look at competitiveness down the road, but you should still be able to get a better deal, not having to ship it, and so on and so forth. And so when it came down to was this, it was too big of a problem for the guy to think about when the old system wasn't broken, and he was afraid that if he decided to fix it, that he would get paid less. That's what it boiled down to. The president of that division said, here's how we get paid. And I've got a formula that makes sure I maximize my paycheck. What you're telling me may give me an incremental boost, but I know I'm going to get my fat paycheck the way I do it now. It was selfishly driven. It had nothing to do with how good the company was going to do. It had to do with how good he would do as an individual. His division, I should say, was going to do. He didn't care if the company burned to the ground. All those other divisions that could support him or anything else, he didn't care. If one of his division managers, co-presidents were to say, look, Bill, we're struggling a little bit over here. Can you guys buy your parts from us internally? He'd go, nope. It didn't do him any good. That's the way government runs. Or it used to, where everybody had their little piece and they go, I don't care what happens with the rest of y'all. As long as I get my funding and my money, I don't really care. And Trump's going, nope, we don't work like that anymore. Everything is going to run smoother. Everything is going to run better because we're going to look at what's best for the country, not best for you individually. The Democrats want DACAs and Dreamers for one reason and one reason only, and I'll talk about that. And so he's breaking up the fee. He's saying, look, I'm going to make you feel like you got what you wanted. But in the end, the country must win. And I don't know how you guys feel, but this is a good feeling to me. And let me go ahead and warn you. The left is going to demonize Donald Trump. They're going to tell, oh, look at him. See, he gave them what they wanted. They wanted all these illegals, and look at what Donald Trump did. Don't believe that hype. Donald Trump told us exactly what he was going to do. He says, I do believe we have a moral position to look at these kids who were brought over and don't know what they're doing, but we're not just going to let them in without comprehensive immigration reform. Ask yourself when we've had anybody addressing this issue.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Beth Cook Moranville, author of Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope.
Hope, that wonderful, wonderful 4-letter word that you may feel completely out of. I wrote this book to give you great hope. It's not too late. If fetal position is an all too familiar place for you, I understand. If the next 60 seconds are too long, this book is for you. Wherever you are right now, whether you're dealing with divorce or death or sickness, take hope. You are going to make it through this pain. Don't roll your eyes. I've walked this road and I know it. The best is yet to come.
Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope from author and speaker Beth Cook Moranville, can be found on Amazon.com or Kindle.com. For more information, visit closerthanyourBreath.com or on Facebook at Closer Than Your Breath.
Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. We're talking about cooperation. And you have already cooperated because you're listening to me and I'm listening to you. Look at us. The spirit of cooperation, it just is infused in this conversation right now. We are cooperating with one another. And good for us because we get things accomplished when we all cooperate together. Hey, by the way, we listed a date for the movie, bleedingbluemovie.com. Bleeding Blue will come out March the 30th. We are asking for people to sign up to get a theater on that date to open for us. If you're interested in doing that, send me a note. It costs probably, we did it for a friend of mine's movie called Dreams of My Real Father, movie by Joel Gilbert. And Joel's got a new one coming out too. And I did a showing for him in St. Louis. I think we had about 500 people show up. The theater cost, I want to say $1,500. So you can get a local theater that will rent out the date that, on that day and let us show the film. So we're looking at March 30th as the date for that so far. It could change. It might do March 31st because Friday's March 30th. I'm not sure if March has 31 days, but we don't want to do it April 1st. but we are going to do it, I think, March 30th or whatever. I know that's a Friday, and it also happens to be my brother's birthday, which was symbolic for me. But the movie's called Bleeding Blue, bleedingbluemovie.com, so you can find out more about it. So we are talking about cooperation today, but before I get into that, I want to tell you something. What's happened to create this spirit of cooperation for Donald Trump. And by the way, this is based on a bipartisan meeting that he brought together Democrats and Republicans to talk about DACA. And people are hailing this meeting as this is pretty symbolic because Barack Obama refused to meet with Republicans for months. Donald Trump has been willing to meet with Democrats on any issue they want to discuss, and he's done it. But he called this meeting together because this is sort of there to throw them a bone. And I think this is so genius of this guy to say, you know what? I've gotten my agenda accomplished, part of my agenda in year one. It was an amazing year. Now I'm going to bring you into the mix, and we're going to work together in the spirit of cooperation. There's an old saying, honor bespeaks worth, confidence bespeaks trust, service brings satisfaction, cooperation proves the quality of leadership. And so how did we get here? We got here because people broke. When I say broke, Donald Trump took the Republican Party and he smashed it like a vase. And he broke it. He took the political establishment and he smashed it. And so what he did after that is he says, okay, I just smashed you. You've been defeated. But now I'm going to put you back together. And I don't know if you've ever broken a bone, but if you have, the doctors will tell you when this bone fuses, when it grows back together, where the break is will be stronger than the rest of your other bone. And that's essentially what Donald Trump is doing. He's broken the body politic and he's pieced it back together. And he says, now we can be stronger than we've ever been. He says, I know I broke you, but you had to be broken. It's the same way a good coach will tell you, I don't know if you've ever trained in something, but a coach will tell you, I have to break down your muscles to build them up for this sport. Your muscles, in order for you to fire off, for you to get stronger, your muscle tissue has to break down. It's called being very, very sore the next day after you've done a workout. Your muscles are going, whoa, what the heck, right? But then if you do it every day, if you get used to the repetition and stuff, your muscles start to get memory. And the little muscles are if you work out the next day, you're really messed up because trust me on this. And so you're shaking. And you know what that shaking is? That shaking is the little bitty muscle fibers, the ones that you've ignored, the ones you don't really care about, but the ones that are most important. They're the ones that keep the big muscles going. They start to, they quiver. Because they're like, man, you just have a lot of weight. You could do that again. But then after a while, they stop quivering because they can handle the pressure. And what Donald Trump is doing now is he's working on these little bitty muscles. And he's saying, you know what, we can do this. We can put this deal together, and I can let the Democrats feel as if they've gotten some kind of a win. So he calls this meeting. Republican and Democrat lawmakers looking for a solution for the hundreds of thousands of young people that they call dreamers brought to the United States as children, living here illegally. Because he ended the deferred, what do they call it? What's DACA actually means, like deferred action for childhood, something, arrivals. But it was essentially Obama did an illegal act. I'm going to go into detail on that in a second. And he shielded somewhere between 700 to 800,000 people from deportation, gave them the right to work legally, and they took advantage of other things as well. And Congress has until March to make a fix. That was the deal. And so Congress has been holding us over the head. We're not going to fund the government. And Donald Trump's like, fine, no problem. But as opposed to just being this autocratic dictator that everybody's made him out to be, this unhinged guy, which is part of the new narrative for the Democrats, is that you can't let him near the button. This is what they did in the campaign, just a reprise of it. Trump says, hey, let's meet. And as opposed to Barack Obama, who had the most, what do you call it, transparent government ever, Donald Trump actually says, let's film it and let's show it. It was so cool. Get a chance to watch it. And I talked earlier, the reason why it was cool is I watched Donald Trump's style in this negotiation, because that's what it is. Now, the negotiations are going to be a little more complicated because of a federal judge's ruling which blocked the administration's decision to end the program. This is a district judge in San Francisco who granted this request to block it. So as the decision plays out, it could extend out a little bit. But in the end, Trump will win this because it's illegal and he'll win it. But the Democrats know how to play the game. But Trump still did what he's doing this the right way. He's saying, look, I'm willing to look at this. You guys are fighting me on an illegal act, but I'm still willing to talk to you about it. And he says, when they were asking him, what do you think is going to be the outcome of this? He said exactly what he should have said. He says, I think my positions are going to be what the people in this room come up with. Yeah, he says, I'm very much reliant on the people in this room. Now, the reason why he did that, and I said earlier, you don't have to panic. Donald Trump knows exactly what he wants out of this negotiation. And I know he's smart about it. He's going to put on some, because they listed these things that they want. And I do want to come back to this. I don't know when exactly we can do it. In fact, should we play the clip? Do we have time? No, we don't have time. Well, I'm going to talk about Chuck Schumer and what he was and DACA in a different way when we come back, and then we'll play the clip at another time. But I'm just telling you, I love because, by the way, what I want to talk about is the Democrats don't really care about the Dreamers, and that's been exposed, and that's going to be big news over the next week in the news cycle. It'll weaken a bit, but that's going to be big news. So we're going to talk about that next.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Kevin Jackson here. It's the Kevin Jackson Show, kjradio.com. I got some bad news for the Democrats. Oh my goodness. It's horrible. Bad news. Democrats are going to be, 2018 will be the worst year for Democrats in the history of their party. Just flatly will. Got some bad news for them. They've been outed yet again. That's right. A memo outing them. The DACA showdown arrived. Democrats fight like pit dogs to give illegal dreamers amnesty, right? They want to make it right. They want these kids to be here. The problem is, a little memo leaked. Uh-oh. And the little memo whispered, Democrats don't really care about the Dreamers. Yes, they concocted a sinister use for these dreamers. They use them. And as it turns out, they don't care about them. Not as much as they claim. But they do care about their vote. It's a horrible revelation but here it is. There was a memo co-authored by former Clinton communications director, a lady by the name of Jennifer Palmieri. Now, guys, you might look this up. Correct me if I'm wrong. Jennifer Palmieri, I believe, was the boss of Marie Harf, which means she's even more stupid than Marie Harf. And I know what you're saying, Kevin. That's just not possible. Marie Barf? That's what one of my callers calls her. Yeah, I don't think it's possible to be more stupid than Marie Harf, but the Peter principle in government and with leftists in particular is your boss must be more stupid than you. That's why the left elected Barack Obama president, because you just can't get much more stupid than that. All right? But anyway, so Jennifer Palmieri, she does a document, a memo, sent it to her allies calling on Democrats, get this, to refuse to offer any votes for Republican spending bills that don't offer a fix for the dreamers and instead appropriate funds to deport them. Now, you would say on its surface, okay, well, that's consistent with their policy, Mr. Kevin Jackson of the Kevin Jackson Show. By the way, kjradio.com, 844-551-8255. But that's not the issue here. Not up in here, The issue is this. Because here's the memo. The fight, and I'm reading this, to protect dreamers is not only a moral imperative, it is also a critical component of the Democrat Party's future electoral success. She says it right in a memo. Now, she was slick about it. She prefaced it with, the fight to protect dreamers is not only a moral imperative. I mean, it's not just a moral thing. We need it. We need it for our votes. Stop dropping stuff. You're messing up my flow. But the Democrats are saying, we need it for votes. Then she goes on to say this, because you're thinking, okay, she said it once. Kevin Jackson, come on, she said it once. What does that mean? Well, here it is. She goes on to say this. If Democrats don't try to do everything in their power to defend dreamers, okay, sounds good so far, right? But here it comes, the punch. That will jeopardize Democrats' electoral chances in 2018 and beyond. What? They are counting on dreamers for the vote. In short, here's what she says. The next few weeks will tell us a lot about the Democrat Party and its long-term electoral prospects. She's saying to dreamers, if we don't get you here, we lose. Because we know you vote Democrat. She might as well have put that in the memo. It ain't in there, but she might as well have put it in there. Don't look at me like that. Exactly. Now, I know what you're saying. Kevin, say it isn't so. Tell me that the Democrats are not using a group of people, minorities, for votes. Tell me that's not Democrats. They don't do that sort of thing. That's what Republicans do. Am I right? No, you would be wrong. You know, it's painfully obvious what they do. And it's painfully obvious that they shouldn't be doing this any more than an 80-year-old woman should wear a belly button ring. Stop it, please. Of course, this information is nothing new, and I know that's what you're saying. You're out there going, you're naysayers. You're going, Kevin, look, I listen to your program because I want to know new stuff, man. You're telling me stuff I already know. You're telling me, Kevin, that Democrats are demonic, self-serving, self-righteous hypocrites, and everybody knows it, especially them. Yeah, I am saying that. Democrats don't care about dreamers. They care about their votes, and they admitted it. Under Obama on June 15, 2012, the Secretary of Homeland Security announced that certain people who came to the United States as Charons and met several guidelines may request consideration in a deferred action for a period of 2 years subject to renewal. In other words, you won't be deported because we're going to give you preferential treatment. Now, Obama clearly felt that by allowing these Charons to come into the United States, he would eventually be able to bring the parents in. That's a foregone conclusion. You cannot have the little Charons without bringing over their parents. Thus, he could increase the Democrat voter rolls through chain immigration. Well, they call it chain migration, whatever. So that's what his plan was. He was going to pull a fast one on us, on the American people. And we've seen what happens with chain migration because, you know, we've got those people killing folks up in New York and all around the country. But here's what the deal is. DACA came after Fast and Furious. You guys aware of that? You know what Fast and Furious is, right? See, Fast and Furious was where we tried to run guns into Mexico. Now, Obama denied this. He says, no, I didn't have a program like that, because he faced tough questioning on Univision. And the interviewer was a man by the name of Jorge Ramos. I just wanted to say that. But it was Jorge Ramos. He interviewed Obama, and he says, these federal agents had guns sold and brought into Mexico so they could supposedly trace the weapons. And ATFE, alcohol, tobacco, firearms, and explosives, ended up losing track of some of these guns. And some of these guns were found at the scene where Brian Terry, one of our Border Patrol agents, got killed on December the 14th of 2012. As you can see, I know my facts. Now, Barack Obama said in the interview, I think it's important for us to understand that Fast and Furious program was a field-initiated program began under the previous administration. When Attorney General Eric Holder found out about it, he discontinued it. We assigned an Inspector General to do a thorough report. That was just issued, confirming that, in fact, Eric Holder did not know about this, that he took prompt action, and the people who did initiate this were held accountable. Nobody was held accountable in Fast and Furious. It was not a previous Bush administration project. Now, people after that interview, they wrote to PolitiFact and said, wait, I thought Fast and Furious was under Obama, not under Bush. And they absolutely fact-checked this. They found a 512-page report about Fast and Furious done by the Inspector General, the DOJ's Inspector General. You know who he is now because he's investigating some other stuff by Barack Obama and his team, some shenanigans. But here's what it said. Our review of Operation Fast and Furious and related matters revealed a series of misguided strategies, tactics, error in judgment, and management failures. The report also clearly shows that Fast and Furious began under the Obama administration, dating its inception to October of 2009. Now, for those leftists who are listening going, Kevin, you're making this stuff up. When did Obama become president? I thought it was January 2009. Yeah, January 2009. This was October of 2009. Now, just for I'm sorry to spoon feed my conservative audience, but I've got to help these leftists out. January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. After President Obama was in office. He owns this. And it directly contradicts his claim. And oh, by the way, this is the man who says he has a scandal-free administration. His own Eric Holder wouldn't testify before Congress on this issue and others and was held in contempt. The only attorney general held in contempt of Congress, Eric Holder. So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about people who set up a program, Fast and Furious, in order to effectively intimidate Mexicans. They were going to put enough guns over there, get them to the cartels, get them to the bad guys, send a flurry of people coming to the border. He ended up doing a Band-Aid on it, and I'll get to that in a second. But he was going to send a flurry of Mexicans hitting the United States border. He was going to say, it's an outrage what's going on over there. We've got to offer these people asylum, and he was going to bring them in that way. And when that didn't work, he just brought, do you remember that out of the blue, we had 68,000 little kids. They weren't that little, but ages from, 5 to 17, using my finger quotes. And these kids all came over, and he dispersed them all over the country. But he didn't disperse them to California, and he didn't disperse them to Massachusetts. He dispersed them to red states in order to make them blue. That's what he did. And they didn't even tell you where they were going. And the idea was, okay, if we can't get the Fast and Furious to work, we'll just bring these kids over. Then we get to DACA. That's right. It was all a ruse, and when it didn't work, Barack Obama says, I have another idea, an unconstitutional idea. I will just let these dreamers come into the United States until and he did it temporarily as if that made it better, like, oh, it's only temporary.
Kevin Jackson on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
According to the Times, which had reviewed internal budget guidance from the OMB, the Trump administration would cut or delay funding for border surveillance. They'd cut or delay funding for radar technology, patrol boats, and maybe most crucially, customs officers, all to ask taxpayers to pay for the wall. Funding to upgrade surveillance aircraft, extremely effective at stopping illegal crossings of the border, particularly drugs, denied. Funding to hire new customs officers, denied. Funding for video surveillance with infrared cameras in areas with high incidence of border crossings, cut to, quote, offset the costs of presidential priorities, unquote.
Welcome back, everybody. That was Chuck Schumer actually making a case that he wants tougher border security, et cetera, et cetera. What utter nonsense. Glad you guys are here. kjradio.com, so you can find us on the internet. 844-551-8255. We're talking about DACA. The Democrats they've been found out. They hate it too. They hate that we know what's going on. They hate that we figured out that Fast and Furious is part of their scheme. These kids that arrived on the border, 4 or 5 years ago, that had been dispersed was part of the scheme. What they call it, chain migration or whatever, that's part of the scheme. And then we found out DACA is part of the scheme. They don't care about the Dreamers. They care about their vote. In 2 places in a leaked memo that wasn't supposed to get out, they said both times, it is our electoral future depends on getting DACA passed. Do you think they care that these kids are going to be a burden to the taxpayer? I don't remember the statistics, but you must see how many of these kids can't read, don't want to read, how many commit crime. It's ridiculous that we would even consider it, at least in the form that they have it. And certainly we shouldn't allow for any chain migration. Anyway, they implemented DACA without approval of Congress. It's in direct conflict with the Constitution of the United States. And the Democrats know this. And it was typical for Obama because he pretty much ignored legality for anything he wanted to get approved. He wanted Obamacare. He didn't care what you wanted. He ignored legality. And then they got the dirt on Justice Roberts, and he decided, oh, okay, whatever, since y'all got the dirt on me. And he let it go. And they did the same thing with this. The Supreme Court should have thrown DACA out anyway. We didn't need to elect Donald Trump for this. DACA provided a political ploy for the Republicans to appear xenophobic, even racist. Because any attempt to unwind this executive order was going to be perceived, even if it wasn't, it was going to be sold by the left. Oh, these guys are a bunch of racists. They don't want a bunch of Mexicans in here. Forget that we got a population of a third Mexican. There's not a Republican on the planet who would say anything bad about Mexicans, but I'll tell you what, you can find Democrats that'll do it all the time. There's a lady in Florida that says, what are we going to do? We're not going to have any gardeners and pool boys if you deport them. Got no press. It could have been a Republican assemblyman, and you'd be hearing it would be plastered on billboards. Anyway, Democrats believed, wrongly, that they could use these emotions tied to kids coming over to fool Americans, and so we would change our views. The political landscape would move into their favor. Excuse me. And these children made perfect fodder. And then under DACA, because these leftist cities and states became emboldened by Barack Obama and his stance on immigration. So they created these fake places called sanctuary states and sanctuary cities. And by the way, the legislators who believe that there exists things like sanctuary cities and sanctuary states are criminals, as far as I'm concerned, because they do not exist. It is against our laws and against the Constitution to give sanctuary to people that are not citizens of the United States unless we declare them refugees. But DACA and complicit leftists in cities allow these dreamers essentially the rights of citizens. Dreamers receive Social Security cards. They're getting into college. Your scholarship money pays for them. They have medical. They can get jobs. You name it. They have better rights than you as a citizen. And they go, oh, they're under the radar. They have to live in the shadows. And so finally we get a president who's unafraid to tackle these issues. He says, you know what? I'll do it. So he rescinds Barack Obama's illegal executive order. I keep stressing that because I want you to know it's illegal. He forced Congress to act. And this was a stroke of genius, because Trump is a genius. Lefties out there, Trump's a genius. See, the left can agree on a lot, but they can't agree on little. The issue is complicated, too complicated to attempt to nuance it in such a short amount of time, because they've only got a few months to get this thing done. What age do you cut it off? And why? How do you make that decision? What do you say about the ones that have criminal records? What do you say about the ones doing what? There's a lot of nuances to this. It is a super complicated issue and I'll tell you why. Because even conservatives say, if you were brought over here by your parents up to a certain age, and we talked about this, I can rationalize if you came over here before the age of 4, there's no question in my mind, you don't know anything about your other country. Now, I could say, well, it offers an opportunity. You could go back to your country, and I'm sure you have relatives. Now, the problem there is, you could argue, yeah, but I don't have my way of life. Let's say you're 4 and you find out you're not legal. You're 17. You don't know anything. If you went to Mexico, man, they'd have to put you on suicide watch. You'd be like, I just cannot live here. The streets are not paved. The dogs have 3 legs and they run around peeing on everything. I mean, you wouldn't even understand it. I've seen poverty. I wouldn't want to live there, but I can handle it. See, when I went to live with my papa, and I could see through the bottom of his floor down to the ground, I knew we weren't rich. I knew there was no inheritance. You know what I'm saying? Oh my goodness. So yeah, we got all these, Donald Trump said enough is enough. So the DACA expires in March and the Democrats don't have a plan. So the nonsense begins. And we did a story a while back of Kamala Harris, one of the dumbest people on the planet, I swear to you. And she tweeted something to the effect that if we don't approve DACA, we're going to, without the DREAM Act, I think the tweet was, thousands of teachers could be deported, right? Thousands of teachers could be deported. And my first thought was, we have illegals teaching our kids? Since when? I thought that these are the jobs that Americans wanted. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong here. Don't Americans want teaching jobs? That's not exactly picking beans in the hot California sun. But as Harris and other Democrats seek to lecture us on jobs that these dreamers may lose, they neglect to tell you that the jobs that these dreamers are taking away from American dreamers. And every time I hear the word dreamer, I think to myself, are we going to allow them to steal yet another word? Families getting brushed aside, losing scholarships, and all this because we go, oh, well, we got a Hispanic girl that we're bringing into the thing. Yeah, but she's illegal. Why should my, qualified this person not make it? Anyway, Chuck Schumer, he got so desperate to save these Democrat votes that he's searching for, he dedicated his Twitter account to dreamers. I stand with dreamers is his entire Twitter page. His face isn't on it, nothing. I stand with dreamers. Yeah? You should put, I stand with Mexican dreamers, Chuck, because you don't stand with black dreamers. You don't stand with American dreamers. Nancy Pelosi evoked the name of God when trying to further the political agenda of dreamers at the time. She says, we're not going to turn this country into a reign of terror of domestic enforcement and have the DACA, the dreamers, pay that price. But I'm optimistic. I always have been. God is with us on this. I always love when these leftists invoke God. It's like anything else. If they invoke God, they don't really want him. They don't really care about him. That's just playing to the audience. They are the most godless creatures on the planet. But now we know, because of this memo, these leftists don't give a crap about dreamers. Not at all. They've not implemented a single plan on how to better the lives of these dreamers. If they get amnesty, then what? Do the Democrats keep track of them? Do they track where these kids live, what they're doing, and if America's helping them find a better way of life? You know they won't. They don't stand with dreamers or any other minority group that they claim to represent. Blacks, women, Guatemalan midgets, whatever. They don't care. They just want the votes. It's that simple.
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. kjradio.com. We're talking about cooperation. And what's funny, when you start looking at these different traits, whether you're looking at strength or perseverance or love or whatever, it all sort of it intertwines at some point. And it's like the human body. If you're missing any piece of it, you can't function as fully as a human being. For example, you could have this little muscle in your wrist that hurts, and it renders your hand useless. And so eventually your body atrophies, because if you aren't able to move your hand, then suddenly you're not using the muscles in your wrist, you're not using the muscles in your forearm, and so on and so forth. Any place along the line where that cooperation no longer occurs between the muscles and the tendons and all the other things that are part of the body, and the body is rendered useless. And that's what we've watched in Washington. We've watched a lot of the self-interest that has developed over decades. It's unbelievable, to be honest with you. We lost sight of the idea of helping everybody. And it's an interesting thing, an interesting concept when you think about it, that you go somewhere with the idea that I'm an individual, a little guy, and I'm going up there to help everybody, and suddenly you become very self-centered and say, oh, what's in it for me? Yeah. Where's my money, Mr. Lobbyist? And so we've allowed this culture to develop. It's a cancer. It's been a cancer that's been developing for years, and we know it happens. It's the same cancer in Hollywood that says, hey, I know I have to sleep my way into movies. You know what I'm saying? That every industry develops it when they develop the cancer, and nobody wants to stop the cancer. And in D.C., if you think Hollywood's bad, if you think Weinstein is bad, I promise you, D.C. is 10 times worse. 10 times worse. You think people want to sleep their way to get a movie deal or whatever. Let me tell you, these politicians, they know the game. You think Denzel Washington is a big deal. You think Angelina Jolie or Brad Pitt is a big deal. Trust me when I tell you, the people that are running D.C., and many of them, these minions behind the scenes, are worth much more. They determine the lives of the Angelina Jolies and the Brad Pitts. Sure, they can have all the glitz and glamour, but these are the people under the surface that are actually more powerful. And that's what we've allowed to occur. We've allowed for people to ruin the body politic, and we know it happens. We know what goes on in D.C. Think about how great it must be when you're a crook and you go, yeah, you know I'm a crook, but what are you going to do about it? That's mafioso, baby. That is big ballin'. That's Al Capone. When Al Capone went into a restaurant, people respected him. Why? Because he's a chubby Italian dude? No, they respected him because he's saying, I'm a criminal. I kill people for a living. I steal money. I bootleg. I do whatever I want. You know it, and you still respect me. Think about how cool that is. That's an elixir. For the wrong people, it's an elixir. I don't see it that way. I wouldn't want to be, oh man, there's that dude that's like, ooh, he'll kill you, he'll shoot you in the head, whatever. I wouldn't want to be that guy. Totally feared. I'm not going to say who wants to be that because that's for you to determine. But I don't think most people want that to be. You want to be respected. Like, wow, that's that guy that I watched, feed all those kids. We have one of the guys that works on my radio show, Keith. He went out just recently. They had a water break or something in the Massachusetts area. And Keith spent hours helping these folks, sacrificing away from family, from this show too, Keith. But no, he sacrificed away from his family, his friends and everything in order to help other people. That's what you want to be noted for. And they did a write-up for him. And I'm very proud of him for that. And that team too, by the way, which is a few other folks. So, that's what you want to be noted for. But no, DC, these are the people that are criminals beyond belief. We know they're criminals. We know they insider trade. We know they are selfish in their legislation. They don't care if your elbow works. As long as the fingers move. They're like, I don't care if the elbow doesn't work. My fingers are moving, baby. I can still grip. I can still pick people's wallets. You know what I'm saying? And we've allowed this to happen. But I want to go back to what I defined with leadership when we did a show on leadership. Leadership, when I learned it in military school, is the ability to gain willful cooperation. Cooperation. Eventually, you have to cooperate. If you're going to be a cohesive team, whether you're military, whether you're a sports team, in life, a business, it requires a level of cooperation. I did not say capitulation. I did not say you have to have consensus, because consensus is the aberration of leadership. I don't need consensus to run my organization. What I need are your inputs, and then I'm going to make a decision. And that's what Donald Trump was able to do. Bring people together and say, we're going to look at this DACA situation. I'm going to throw you leftists a bone, and we're going to investigate this. And you're going to come up with something. But what you come up with, you're going to think you did it. I'm only going to sign off on it if I don't have to capitulate on the things that I know are important to whom? The body politic, not to your individual self-interest. See, that's the beauty of when you look at when some Democrat brings something up, you have to look for the fine print. You go, okay, hold on a minute. It looks good on paper, but let me look and see what the fine print is. These guys bringing pork back to their districts because, hey, if I can bring a fat contract back, whether the contract's a good product or not, whether it suits the need of my citizens, who cares? It reminds me of when these guys turned down Amazon in some little Midwestern town, and they said no because it'll ruin the culture of our town. We're not going to sell out for money. And Amazon's like, what? Really? No. Go take it somewhere else. Yeah, we'd get a boom. We'd have a financial boom, but we would not be who we are. We don't want to be you, West Coast, Jeff Bezos, anti-Trump, anti-American Amazon. No, we don't need it. Now that takes character. Whole other show. There's a saying, painful emotions show you what prevents you from creating harmony, cooperation, sharing, and a reverence for life. That's what the Democrats experience. That's what the left experiences, pain. Everything that these people do is built on pain. They don't want to cooperate with us because it's built on pain. They've been molested, so they become gay, and then they're mad because you're not. Why? Because you weren't molested. And even if you were, you got over it. But they didn't. They harbor these dark emotions. And all that pain comes up in, you don't like what I like. You don't like me because of this. And it's self-inflicted. It's pain that they feel, and they don't know how to resolve it because they're like children. It's all about tantrums. It's not about learning. We'll be back, folks.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Beth Cook Moranville, author of Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope.
Hope, that wonderful, wonderful four-letter word that you may feel completely out of. I wrote this book to give you great hope. It's not too late. If fetal position is an all too familiar place for you, I understand. If the next 60 seconds are too long, this book is for you. Wherever you are right now, whether you're dealing with divorce or death or sickness, take hope. You are going to make it through this pain. Don't roll your eyes. I've walked this road and I know it. The best is yet to come.
Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope from author and speaker Beth Cook Moranville, can be found on Amazon.com or Kindle.com. For more information, visit closerthanyourBreath.com or on Facebook at Closer Than Your Breath.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Steve Bannon is gone. Gone like a turkey through the corn. I called it. I told you guys, I said, Bannon made the worst career-limiting move you can make in politics. I don't know what happened to this guy. Mortally wounded himself. And not just with Donald Trump, not just at Breitbart. Career-wise, he's officially gone from Breitbart. And I told you guys it was going to happen just for all the reasons. Like I said, I was up there with him. He was treated like a rock star in New York. This happened, and suddenly I get people going, "Hey, Kevin, this event we were going to do, we're not going to have Bannon there anymore." What? So you get, the rumor mill starts to happen, and you know what's going on. Executive chairman of Breitbart News, Bannon, stepped down. He's led the outlet since 2012. The announcement, first reported by the New York Times, comes after the former White House chief strategist came under fire when Donald Trump attacked Bannon Friday for disparaging comments. It got worse. I don't know if you guys have watched this dude, Michael Wolff, and the interviews and the things he's talking about. This book is essentially him spending hours with Steve Bannon. That's what it is. I had no interest in this book whatsoever until, the controversy started, and I don't have any interest in reading it, but I had no interest in the subject matter. But as I started sort of discerning, doing what I normally do, picking it apart and understanding the pieces and then putting the puzzle back together, I figured it out. This guy spent the most time with Steve Bannon, and Bannon started giving his opinions about different people in the organization, what he thought about them. I think Mnuchin is this. I think Kelly is this. I think this, that, and the other. And Bannon I think he's practically the author of the book. And when the guy, they didn't know how to handle it. They didn't know how to come out and talk about these issues without Bannon trying to make himself look good. That's it in a nutshell. And so he's now finds himself in a pickle. He's that guy. I don't know. It almost makes me feel like the dude is dumb, because you know that you can't have this conversation and it's not going to get back. See, when I had and I still impose this rule in my own organization, I say this: we bring you into the organization. It means we respect you. We think your work is good. We're going to give you a shot. and you have a chance for success or failure, and we'll move you around if failure, if you can't handle a role. But we only bring you in if we think you can do it. It's up to you to prove it. But for whatever reason, while you're on the team, even if you're not competent at it, we don't talk bad about you. We try to help you. So if somebody were to come to me and say, Kevin, so-and-so on your team is really, they don't seem like they have it all together, I'd say, oh, yeah. She's got it all together. The issue is, we've got her overburdened. But let me tell you, she's a rock star. And when we start to focus her a little bit more, you're going to see a very different, person than you may see right now. But let me tell you, she's got it together. Don't make no mistake about it. We're not going to let you talk about our person and, without us defending them, and not in a, like, if you're not performing, you're not performing, but we're not going to leave it at that. We're going to say, no, there's a reason she's not performing. We have her spread thin so we can kind of see where we're going to put her. But when we put her there, you're going to watch her be a rock star. So we'll admit to whatever it is, but we're not going to talk bad about our person. And what Bannon seemed to do, and I'll tell you, I believe this is his personality. Bannon will come into your organization quietly, look at people, make his assessments based on his own insecurities, and then go, yeah, she's no good for you. Yeah, he over there, he's a snake, and he's a snake right there. You got to watch him. And he's going to point out all the different flaws of other people that are really his own character flaws, which, by the way, makes me believe, and I've told you guys this before, he's a left-leaning moderate, a.k.a. a leftist, liberal, progressive, whatever. I spoke to Bannon. We were having a discussion about something, that was happening in the black community at the time. And I remember this guy pushing back, and I'm going, look, white boy, you don't have enough experience to be talking to me like you know what's going on. Yeah, but Kevin, what about this and what about that? And it's an interview. I swear you can find it. You know what? We may look for it, and I'll try to play it. But what about this? What about that? And I was like, well, Steve, I see what the point you're trying to make, but the point is not valid. Blah, blah. Yeah, but what about this? What about that? And he just kept coming back hard. And I'm looking at him going, this is Breitbart radio? Because I know what Andrew would be saying. He'd be in total agreement with me. And so then I thought, well, maybe Bannon's just trying to make for good radio. To do the counterpoint. He wasn't. That's what he believed. And that's what surprised me. And so that's why I come back to you and I go, I never saw where he fit. But anyway, so he go. You guys know the story. Bannon goes, I says what he says. Donald Trump says the guy's losing it. Then he ended up calling him Sloppy Steve. Now, the reason why Donald Trump called him Sloppy Steve, I went through this the other day. You don't go into an organization and start allowing dirt. You don't allow cancer in, period. You don't allow an infection to come into your organization. If you're the chief strategist or any kind of strategist, you don't bring some dude in and say, yeah, let's start, infecting the organization here. Your job is to protect. And Bannon didn't do that. Telling them that Donald Trump has a 33% chance of being impeached. What kind of nonsense is this? Donald Trump Jr. is in big trouble. They're going to pick him apart because of this meeting with the Russians. First of all that stuff is nonsense. It's like when I went to one of my CEOs when I was in management consulting, and the guy told me everything that James Carville had said in a meeting where he got paid. I was told I learned $50,000 he got paid for this meeting. And I was like, everything he said is wrong. And my client's like, You sure? I go, I'm telling you, everything you just described that he said is completely wrong. Don't build your strategy around that nonsense. And he goes, man, but Kevin, this guy worked for the president. I don't really care. He worked for the president. I work in management consulting, building businesses. Which one do you want to? Well, but he knows what policies. I said, I don't care what policies. This is around the election of Barack Obama. I said, I'm just telling you, he's wrong. That CEO called me back a year plus later and said, you were right. And I said, don't, whether you gave me this phone call or not, I knew that. I knew it the minute I walked out of your office. And here I was getting $500 an hour to do my job, and Carville gets $50,000 to go sit down with a guy and have a conversation that's blatantly wrong. Anyway, Bannon also lost his job on Sirius Radio. I guarantee you, no speaking engagements. He's done. And then the final point is, what does he do after this? The only thing he can do is go to the left? Is he going to go over there and try to become a CNN contributor or something? He's got no credibility. He's the Brian Williams of the conservative movement. The only problem is we don't give you a chance when we find out you're as bad, at spreading all this stuff as Bannon. So what's he going to do? I'm trying to figure it out for him. Maybe he writes a book, how I screwed my own career up.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
So, Congressman Jordan, your colleague there, he is also asking Attorney General Jeff Sessions to step down. This is nothing new. We've heard calls for this before, but does it feel different this time around?
Well, we'll see with the president. It seems like Jeff Sessions wants this job so badly that he's giving in to some of the pressures that have been applied by the president for him to do several things. Now, it is clear, it came out over the week that the president had asked one of his top attorneys to ask Jeff Sessions not to recuse himself from the investigation, and that Sessions' job was to protect the president. That's not what his job is. And then you had on top of that the president saying that he could do whatever he wanted with the Justice Department. And so here again, we're in a atmosphere of a foreign government that's totalitarian, where the president is saying that I can go after my political enemies and try to say we want our institution to put somebody in jail.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. That was Congressman Meeks under investigation for sexual harassment. He paid off people with our tax dollars. Welcome back to the Kevin Jackson Radio Show, kjradio.com. You can also call us at 844-551-8255. Now, I want to just tell you, if you were listening to him and you're a leftist, you bought into it. You just got force-fed like what do they call those ducks that they make, the foie gras? They take the livers out, the goose. You just got force-fed a bunch of nonsense. First of all, Meeks, he says definitively that Trump's asked Sessions to protect him. That's a lie. Donald Trump knows the law. He can't say to Jeff Sessions, protect me. He can say to Jeff Sessions, do your job. And Sessions should do his job because he's not doing it right now. Recusing himself was idiotic. And certainly he should reinsert himself because there's tons going on that he as Attorney General needs to go, look, this is not right. He doesn't have the guts. He doesn't have the political guts. He's concerned about the legacy of Jeff Sessions when he should be worried about the legacy of America, the legacy of the Justice Department, not Jeff Sessions. We've got plenty of evidence, certainly enough from an allegations perspective to launch multiple investigations. And there should be no politics involved. We're launching an investigation into Clinton and the dossier, the DOJ and FBI, blah, blah, blah. End of story. And here are the reasons why. Now I'm going to go along my merry way. But he won't do it. But anyway, Meek implies that Trump, you're going to do this, Sessions. You're supposed to protect me. He's never said that. So that's number one. Number two, he then went on to say Trump believes he can do whatever he wants with the Justice Department. That's a lie. Donald Trump knows there's a separation between him and justice, and it's for the same reason I just described a second ago. But Meeks doubles down on it and then has the nerve to call Donald Trump authoritarian. Why? Because he wants to protect himself, because his brand is under attack. Take away Donald Trump as president and ask yourself, what would this man be doing if he were private citizen Trump and you said, you're connected to the Russians and you're a cheater and you collude with them to do nefarious things? You know what he'd do? He'd sue you. And that's exactly what Donald Trump has decided to do. He's decided that he's going to sue BuzzFeed. And the reason why he's suing BuzzFeed is because they call it defamation of character. BuzzFeed released that fake dossier. And that dossier not only impugned President Trump, and impugn members of his family, members of his staff, saying they colluded with Russia to throw an election, and it even went into salacious sexual innuendo about Donald Trump, and none of it was true. It was easily verifiable, many of the things. And you know what the left, they hold their hat on? Well, elements of it were true. What? They spelled Donald Trump's name correctly? There were the elements that tied Donald Trump to Russia or any of his staffers are pretty much 90% false. They're made up. Some meetings, oh yeah, they met with him at Trump Tower. Sure. And they've released all the information with that. It is nonsense. So what did Trump decide to do? He's like, I'm suing you. And that's what he did. He sued him. And I couldn't be more thrilled to learn that Donald Trump decided, you know what? Enough is enough. His attorneys and everybody said enough is enough. So he responded and to BuzzFeed. That's who he's suing. Now, I think it's going to expand. I think it's going to end up being more than just BuzzFeed. But as it stands right now, he's going after the president of BuzzFeed. And the reason for this is BuzzFeed, they were given that dossier theoretically in confidence, and they decided they would put it out there anyway. Yeah. Sued the editor-in-chief. And what happened was he filed this law, and I want to read it. It specifically says, he's collateral damage, and he talks about it. The guy's name is Michael Cohen. He's one of President Trump's personal attorneys. And he says the case is not about him, but he has a legal right to sue, and I'll get to that in just a second. But what was interesting about it was the reason why they did it. They said BuzzFeed absolutely knew that, well, first of all, it was supposed to be kept, under wraps, but they absolutely did no due diligence in checking out this information. None at all. In spite of awareness that the dossier was not intended to be part of public discourse or to make an argument in public debate, and that the dossier's content also bore multiple hallmarks of its irresponsible collection and compilation. They published it anyway. That's their big beef. Now, I'm going to tell you something. BuzzFeed has two choices. They can pay Trump and get it over with, or they can defend this lawsuit and bring in the other cast of characters who propagated this lie, all those Fusion GPS people. And trust me, it's coming. It is coming. But what I love about this is the genius of it. The genius that Donald Trump says, you know what? I'm not going to pretend. I'm not going to play president on this. I'm going to play Trump brand. And I'm going to go after you the same way I would if we were talking about something from a personal perspective. See, Donald Trump fights for his brand. But what's cool about this from a marketing perspective? This is genius. It really is. The Trump brand is now synonymous with the American brand. Now, don't misunderstand me. Trump knew this. And running for president, I'm Trump for president. Wait till he retires. If Donald Trump lived another 100 years, he would be richer than Solomon, because he would know what to do with this. Can you imagine the books that Donald Trump would write? The things that he would think, the art of the deal. I don't know how many books got sold with that, but Donald Trump's memoir will be the biggest selling book outside of the Bible in history. Anyway, his name means something to him. And it's become synonymous with America. America first. Make America great again. Trump, Trump, Trump. All this is blending together for him. And I'm telling you, this is huge. So not only is BuzzFeed being sued, Fusion GPS is being sued, and this is going, look, I've told you guys before, talk about bringing down the left. But get this, the one of the people, the spokesperson for BuzzFeed, he says this: the dossier is and continues to be the subject of active investigations by Congress and intelligence agencies. It was presented to 2 successive presidents and has been described in detail by news outlets around the world. Its interest to the public is obvious. This is not the first time Trump's personal lawyer has attacked the free press. We look forward to defending our First Amendment rights in court. Let me tell you, nice, chest pumping, but these guys are scared beyond belief. This dossier is as fake as Michael Wolff's book. It is going to be proven to have been used for nefarious reasons by the Obama campaign. It's got a trail of leftists longer than a Polish last name, and people are going to go down, and they're going to go down with a vengeance. So nice try, Mittenthal. The free press that worked in collusion with the Democrat establishment to defame Donald Trump. Not President Trump, Donald Trump. That's the press we're talking about. So BuzzFeed published this dossier in January of 2017, days before President Trump's inauguration. Now, he'd already beaten Hillary, but they needed cover. This thing had no verification of the veracity of it, and the motive was simple: to continue the fake news narrative set by the now defeated Hillary Clinton campaign. And the allegations against Trump were meant to provide cover for the crooked Clintons. That's what it was. And undoubtedly, this document contained unverified claims about Donald Trump's financial ties to Russia. And as I alluded to earlier, it had all this other sexual stuff. Had enough to titilize the left to where they could get everybody to want to buy into it. And that's exactly what happened. And if Hillary Clinton were in power, or if you felt like you had the deep state in your pocket, maybe you could get away with it. But this is another part of the big backfire of the left.
Kevin Jackson on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. It's Kevin Jackson here. It's the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. Glad you're with me still. We're talking about Donald Trump and his suing for defamation, and it's a stroke of genius. I love it. I really do, because it's Donald Trump saying, look, I'm president of the United States, but I'm a private citizen too. And if you're going to say bad things about me, if you're going to accuse me of doing things, you better know I'm coming after you, press. The same way Melania Trump sued one of these rag magazines and implied she was a call girl, and they had to pay her an undisclosed amount of money. Well, let me tell you, they paid a lot of money. I don't know what it was, but they ain't messing with Melania anymore. And you're going to find out, not only is Donald Trump going to beat the press up as president of the United States by going around them and becoming his own media source. Because let me tell you something. I would rather follow Donald Trump's tweets than any of the lamestream media sources. Guarantee you I do. That's what our staff does. We follow the tweets of Trump before we even think about going to CNN or MSNBC. I don't even think about going to them, to be honest with you. So this is a great move on his part to do this, to put that notice out there. Now, they're going, oh, he's authoritarian. I played a clip of Congressman Meeks, member of the Congressional Black Circus, one of the clowns, and he's talking about Trump being authoritarian. Donald Trump has played by the rules better than anybody. And a real good example, real quickly, Barack Obama illegally set up DACA, whatever you want to call it, illegally. He couldn't do it. He wasn't supposed to do it. He did it through executive order. In undoing it by saying, that executive order was wrong, I'm going to undo it and put it back to Congress, a federal judge ruled that Donald Trump can't undo the illegal order of Barack Obama. Look, I don't know how to make the lunacy of leftism more clear than in using their own stuff. And that's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. Yet, Meeks has the nerve to accuse Donald Trump of being authoritarian. Then, on top of that, and we've talked about this earlier, Donald Trump calls a bipartisan meeting of Democrats and Republicans to meet to discuss these so-called dreamers. And he says, let's see if we can put something together that suits everybody's needs. And they call him authoritarian. He's trying to fix the problems that Barack Obama and leftists created. Because the other part of it is, if we were enforcing our laws, dreamers wouldn't be here. Their parents wouldn't have brought them over. We wouldn't have allowed them in the first place. But they don't enforce our laws. Then they put they do other egregious things on top of that. And when you try to fix it, they go, what are you doing trying to fix it? Am I getting preachy? That's the lunacy of the left. And they want us to stop it. You guys need to stop. Stop getting in the way of us, you speed bumps. What do you mean with speed bumps? We're smoothing it out. We're putting this country back on track. Hey, for the record, don't feel bad, people. I don't know if I'm making you feel good or feel bad, but here's the deal. Don't feel bad. We're outing these nutcases for what they are. Good. This is a good thing that's happening. The more of this nonsense that we show, that we bring to the surface, Donald Trump's stupid, he's crazy, he's authoritarian. Hey, here's a meeting. I'm going to make this meeting open to the public. You get to hear Dianne Feinstein say, we've got to have the dreamers before we do anything. And Donald Trump's team goes, no, we got to have security. We got to have assurances that we're going to stop this. Security, we got to get rid of this, what do they call it, chain migration. We only want the best. We're not just going to let anybody in here. And guess what? When it's nuanced and everything's done, it's going to be all those dreamers have to get in line. They have to, prove that they're going to be citizens. By the way, you do anything wrong, you're out of the country. End of story. This is going. I know there are people out there going, Kevin, Donald Trump's going to let all these people in. These people are going to vote this, that, and the other. It is not going to disrupt things. Not nearly the way you think. Dreamers have to be on their P's and Q's. You do something wrong, you're out. You lose the right to vote, etc. And for the record, we should be giving our inputs. Don't leave it to chance. What have you thought about with respect to this? Some people have sent me notes on it, but what have you thought about? A dreamer should not be able to vote. Not for a certain number of years. That's what I say. Not until you've officially become a citizen of the United States. You got nothing. And as far as the ability to work, do you let illegals work? We got to look at all the nuances of this. And because if you're a dreamer, what do you mean working? Oh, you mean I'm a dreamer? I've been here for 25 years, and I think you might have gone out of dreamer qualification if you know you've been illegal for that many years. So when it gets all nuanced, here's all I'm saying. You don't have to worry about it because Donald Trump's going to be looking at this short term and long term, and he's going to, as they say, paint the wagon of the left, and it's not going to be everything they want. He'll give them enough for them to feel like they got to win, and they'll go back to their constituents and go, we won, man, I got you. But when you look at the nuance, it'll be, nope, America won. Anyway, that's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about this being sued for defamation because we've got BuzzFeed, who their editor-in-chief, Ben Smith, published this dossier back in January of 2017 to take the heat off of Hillary Clinton. This is a cabal, a media cabal. Keep tying this thing to Trump so we can get rid of him, get him impeached, go into office where he's under a cloud of speculation. And then, no harm, no foul in the end. And Trump says, no, it's not going to happen. And their excuse is at BuzzFeed, well, everybody wants to know about this because it's part of an ongoing investigation. It's part of the lie of that investigation. It is the reason why that investigation is turning on its heels and is now pointing back at everybody, including BuzzFeed. And I'm telling you, as God is my witness, I don't mean any bad karma, but I hope that Donald Trump shuts these suckers down. There could be no better message to the media that you better report the news. You better get it right. If you're going to come after me, I will come back at you. And by the way, that's what Donald Trump did in his personal life. And he's saying, I may be president of the United States, but I have a brand. And you're gonna honor that brand. This is big for him. Big for him. In more ways than you can count. When you let people know I'm willing to fight, ask yourself this. What is the Washington Post going to say the next time they have defamation against Donald Trump? I know Jeff Bezos has a lot of money, but you get sued for a few millions and millions and billions of dollars. You finally get sick of it. And what about these other publications that aren't making quite that much money? What do you think is going to happen to the New York Times, Wall Street Journal? They may be doing okay, but they are not making enough money to have to pay Donald Trump and his team millions and millions of dollars and be tied up in litigation. Good, Donald Trump. I hope you sue the pants off of them. Unverified claims. Trump's attorney got mentioned in this dossier. And here's what they did. They claimed that Cohen met with Russian officials in Prague during the summer of 2016. Now, much to the chagrin of BuzzFeed and the leftist establishment, Cohen repeatedly denied that this meeting in Prague ever took place. And it was easily provable. Because get this, Cohen's never been to Prague. Now, I know you're listening to the program going, Kevin, wow, let me stew on that a minute. So they're saying he had a meeting in Prague sometime in 2016, but he's never been to Prague, right? Yeah. You got it. You figured it out. Good job. That's for the leftists. I know my conservative people who listen to the program get it. So you would think that BuzzFeed or maybe Mueller, hey, Robert Mueller, is this thing on? You could verify a simple fact that Cohen had never been to Prague by just looking at State Department records. Because, you do these things like registering your passport when you travel and determine, I got my passport and I got my visa stamp that says I'm going to Prague. It's easy to find out. But they didn't do it. So if he didn't go to Prague, it only makes sense, America, I'm just guessing here, that he probably didn't have a meeting with the Russians in Prague. Now, what if Cohen's supposed, and this was in the lawsuit, inappropriate and possible criminal relationship with the Russian government? Well, it stems from his relationship with his wife's family. Cohen responded to the nonsense saying, yeah, my wife was born in Ukraine, but she immigrated to the United States over 40 years ago. And oh, by the way, she's never been to Russia. Again, easily verifiable fact, but these guys doubled down. They actually went to the New York Times and published a thing that says, we stand behind the Trump dossier on the anniversary of it. Let me tell you what the anniversary of this dossier is going to be in the future. It's going to be the anniversary of when the Democrats went down like the Titanic. That's what this is going to be the anniversary for. And BuzzFeed, you're going to be responsible.
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. kjradio.com. Glad you're with me. Talking about cooperation. The ability to get that. And we're starting to see that. The left, let me tell you, this year, they're going to cooperate with us pretty much fully. Not by choice, but because their backs are going to be against the wall. Feel good about what you've done. Happy New Year 2018. The year the Democrats go down like the Titanic. So congratulate yourselves. Every time you run into a Trump, I was out the other day, a young couple, a guy was wearing a Trump shirt and so was his girl. They were both walking through the street, like it was a mall, outdoor mall kind of area. And they were walking. I saw them coming because I had gone to get a little bit of ice cream over at a Dairy Queen. And I'm walking out, I see him, Trump stuff. And he's talking to his girl, blah, blah, blah. And he turns the corner. He's about to round the corner. And all I did was put my hand up with a smile and high five. And he just smiled at me and put his hand up like, yep. And I didn't even say, love your shirt, nothing. He just knew what was going on. Trump guy, unafraid. His girlfriend too, wearing Trump gear. Skinny white dude, probably bad to the bone, probably kickboxer or something. Because you never know, right? You never know. But here's what I'm going to tell you. More people are going to be proud to be associated with Trump. They may not say it publicly. Privately, they're going to be like, oh, whatever. But publicly, they're not going to say it. And privately, they aren't even going to be like boisterous. They're not going to like, yeah. At first, I didn't like that Trump, but now I do. One guy came out and did it. He was a never Trumper, a conservative never Trumper. And he came out and went, you know what? I got to tell you, guy's doing a really good job. How many of those do you think are out there? What do you think's going to happen in 2018 when these never Trumpers get the note? They're like, what? Our stock portfolios are doing what? We've made this much money. My job just gave me a raise. My tax rebate just came in and I made $3,000 more than I did before. I have better health care. What? Kim Jong-un is sending people to the Olympics? What are you talking about? Yeah. Did you hear what the South Korean prime minister said? He said the reason why the relations with North Korea have thawed are because of Donald Trump. That's what he said. So look around the globe. Look at what's going on. You know what you find around the globe? Notice how I put the end of the D on there. Find it. what you're finding around the globe? Cooperation. A spirit of cooperation. Donald Trump says to Pakistan, oh, you want to free a criminal? You want to free a guy who was anti-American, who fought against us, and we've sent you $33 billion total. I tell you what, we won't be sending you any more money. Pakistan's like, we can release people. I mean, come on, we'll do. And Donald Trump says, you can do whatever you want to do. You just won't be doing it with our money. Cooperation. NATO wasn't paying its bills. NATO says, why do we got to pay our bills? We got Big Bro. Big Bro taking care of everything. Come on now. Why we got to do something over there? Oh. And Donald Trump says, hey. That was when you had a black Big Bro. Yeah, he was the one that let you get away with it. And by the way, he's a big sissy. I'm not a sissy, and you're going to pay your way, or I'm not protecting you. It's over. Cooperation. What did NATO do? NATO, guess we better start paying our bills. So they did. And you know what the left said? Donald Trump is crazy. He has no respect for NATO. He's a crazy man. He's getting rid of NATO. He's trying to disembowel NATO right in front of us with a Ginsu knife made in China. And Donald Trump says, no, far to the contrary. If you pay your bills, you're not a derelict. If you don't pay your bills, you're a derelict. See, what Donald Trump did was what people do. He called them what they were. You are not paying your bills. You are a derelict. You are not cooperating in the spirit of this agreement, and therefore you're a derelict. And then they go, well, he's kind of got a point. And they pay their bills, and he says, yeah, I like NATO. Look at him, he flip-flopped. No, he didn't. You pay your bills. You do what you're supposed to do and live up to your commitments. I like you. You don't do it, I'm going to dog you. I'm going to get on Twitter. I'm going to talk about you like you dirty dogs. And he did it. And I love that. I love that about this guy, man. He's unafraid to do that kind of thing. That's what he's supposed to do. And I could go on. How many instances has this guy confronted the issue and gotten what? A spirit of cooperation. What did he do to the UN? Donald Trump warned the UN. He says, look, you are worthless. You spend money like it's nothing. You have zero fiscal responsibility. So not only do you have no fiscal responsibility, you are a worthless organization. You're supposed to be bringing peace and helping the world become a better place. And when we vote to let Israel have its capital where they choose to have it, which is their sovereign nation, you vote against us 14-1. What kind of organization do you call yourself? This is the same thing that every other president in history has said we should do. And you recognize it. And why do you not do it? Oh, well, we have to appease one group over the other. Who are you to make that determination? Why does Syria get to have its capital in Damascus? name the capital. Why does the United States get to have our capital in D.C.? Because it's our sovereign country. Israel has a sovereign country. They can choose where they want to have their freaking capital. End of story. And you should be supporting that. But they didn't. And what does he do? He says, well, I'll take my money. Simple as that. And let me tell you what's going to happen. The UN is going to start cooperating. I don't know when. You want to know what the press is doing so far? They are siding with the left. That's all they've done. They don't look at us as serious. They look at it, whatever. We can say whatever we want, do whatever we want. And you know what Donald Trump did? He sued him for defamation. He's been beating on him since he first got into public office. And you know what's going to happen? Those chumps are going to start cooperating. Because leadership gets cooperation. One way or the other. Donald Trump's not asking for their cooperation. He's not begging. And he's not demanding it. He's just saying, I'm going to do the things that make you have to cooperate one way or the other. And that's what leadership is about. The ability to gain willful cooperation. We got a lot to talk about. Harvey Weinstein attacked in Scottsdale, Arizona. That's an interesting story. We'll come back on that one when we come out of the break.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Beth Cook Moranville, author of Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope.
Hope, that wonderful, wonderful 4-letter word that you may feel completely out of. I wrote this book to give you great hope. It's not too late. If fetal position is an all too familiar place for you, I understand. If the next 60 seconds are too long, this book is for you. Wherever you are right now, whether you're dealing with divorce or death or sickness, take hope. You are going to make it through this pain. Don't roll your eyes. I've walked this road and I know it. The best is yet to come.
Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope from author and speaker Beth Cook Moranville, can be found on Amazon.com or Kindle.com. For more information, visit closerthanyourBreath.com or on Facebook at Closer Than Your Breath.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here, kjradio.com. What's the number? 844-551-8255. Harvey Weinstein back in the news because of the Golden Globes and for other reasons as well. You remember Harvey, right? The guy who for 3 decades plus has molested, raped, and sexually abused women throughout Hollywood and has been the well-kept secret of all of them. And all the big names have been seen in pictures with Harvey Weinstein. They want to be, part of that glamour of Weinstein. By the way, these people wouldn't have paid 2 seconds of attention to Weinstein if he wasn't making films, if he wasn't rich, if he wasn't powerful, if he couldn't put them with the other so-called elitist. So here's what's interesting about that whole situation, right? Somebody deems you an elite, and then everybody that gets into your orbit can be part of that elitism. So then everybody wants to get to you because they can get to you by being getting to the people that are in your orbit. And so it's just a jockeying thing of everybody wanting to be there. And so they overlook all your peccadillos, all your idiosyncrasies, all your evilness. They just overlook it. And that's exactly what happened to Harvey Weinstein. And it gets to the point where it becomes the norm. It's the way it is. It's the rite of passage. It's the ritual to get to the brass ring. I look at Oprah Winfrey the same way. A lady that connived and cheated because she wanted to be able to hobnob with the rich and famous. Technically, Oprah's not one of them. It's like a newscaster. You go, she's reading the news or she's hosting all the big names. She brings in Brad Pitt and Angelina. She brings in Denzel. She brings in presidents and other people. She interviews them. And by virtue of being in their orbit, she becomes one of them. And in fact, with Oprah, she became bigger. Same with Harvey. People did. It was great to be seen with the stars, but to get to Harvey was a bigger deal, believe it or not. To get to Spielberg and whoever else, Lucas, Scorsese, big names. They make films. That's their job. Good for them. And so, but people get caught up in it. And I get it, man. It's so cool because it's imaginative. It's got all these elements to it. It's the same reason why we gravitate. We give so much power to somebody who's got a beautiful voice. Streisand, what an amazing voice. Her politics, she's an idiot, but she's got an amazing voice, so we should listen. Ariana Grande, Lady Gaga, Jennifer Lopez. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, I know. She is the big booty, the whole thing. So, look, I get it. But it bugs me that we give so much to these guys. Anyway, that's not where I was going to go with this. I was going to talk about what happened to Weinstein. You know, he's in rehab for his addiction, his affliction, whatever you want to call it. They've got him out in Arizona. And he did a month, and then they declared him cured, and then I guess the feedback was pretty bad. So they came back on and says, no, you got to do some more. And let's be honest, he's not going to be cured. And for the record, I don't know that you're ever cured of an affliction. You just learn how to deal with it properly so that it doesn't become intrusive to your life. So to that end, Weinstein probably still is going to want to take advantage of women. He just probably won't have the opportunity anymore. And if he's smart, he'll just embrace that. Like it's a guy that was at my church. We had a men's retreat. And he said to all of us, he says, yeah, I have a sexual addiction. And he goes, so when I see a beautiful woman, he goes, I bounce. And he means that his eyes will see her, and he immediately reflectively looks away. And just tells himself, like, I didn't see her. I didn't see that. And he goes, it's something that I deal with every day because they're beautiful women. He goes, I bounce. I've learned how. I just don't look. He won't. If your wife is gorgeous, he will not talk to her. He won't look at her. He'll look down and just, yep. Because he knows what he's dealing with. But he also knows it isn't something that goes away. I just have to be able to, inside of myself, say, nope. I have no interest there. So I don't know whether Weinstein's going to be cured. I think that Weinstein's pathology dates back to being the ugly Jewish kid that, fat with zits that nobody liked, and girls treated him badly, and now he's taking it out. He can't be a serial killer, but he can be a Hollywood producer. But he got attacked. That's where I was going. While he was out in Scottsdale, he was at a restaurant. This was on TMZ, for those of you who don't believe me. He was at a restaurant called Elements in Camelback Mountain Resort, having dinner with his, quote, sober coach, and two men sat at a table next to him. And one of the men, a guy named Steve, was saying to TMZ, he walked up to Weinstein and told him he loved his movies and would like to take a photo with him. And Steve says Weinstein became belligerent and told him to buzz off. The manager of the restaurant says Weinstein wasn't belligerent. She says, to the contrary, he was very sweet about it and says, I'd rather not take a picture right now. That makes more sense to me. The manager says the two shook hands. Steve went back to his table. At 9 p.m., Weinstein and his sober coach got up to leave at the same time as Steve and his dinner companion were leaving. And Steve tells TMZ he had quite a bit to drink, told his friend to fire up his cell phone and shoot video of what was about to happen. Now, we can stop there. Here's the thing. Weinstein doesn't deserve that. He doesn't. For the record, we've driven by where he's living, where the residence where he's at for this whole sexual addiction thing, just for shiggles. I wanted to see, where the healing happens. And I'm curious at times if I'll see the guy out. But speaking of which, it's a different subject a little bit, but when I was in New York the last time, I saw Monica Lewinsky. I didn't see her in the carnal way, and I didn't see her like Bill Clinton. Well, you looking at me crazy. I saw Monica Lewinsky. I was leaving my hotel. I was going to go get something to eat. And sure enough, bopping by me was Monica Lewinsky. No makeup. And, she looked pretty much the same. A little older, but she looked the same. And she had it was chilly that night, jacket on and a what do you call it? Like a boa around her face. But she wasn't hiding. But you could tell it was Monica Lewinsky, but she wasn't flaunting it, but she wasn't hiding. Yeah, I saw Monica Lewinsky. I haven't seen Weinstein yet. Anyway, Steve walks up to Weinstein. He says, "You're a piece of crap." He used a different word for what you did to these women. And he punched him in the face twice. He said Weinstein stumbled backwards and almost fell. But again, that was the restaurant owner manager said, neither of the punches connected, and Steve at this point was drunk out of his gourd. And the person who filmed the incident asked if Weinstein wanted to call the cops, and Weinstein said nah, and everybody just left the restaurant. So he's got a target on his back for a little bit. He's no Jeffrey Dahmer. He's no, I guess, OJ. I don't know what would happen if OJ was there, but he's got some haunting that's going to be happening for a while. Anyway, more about Weinstein, the Golden Globes, when we come back. Much more important issue.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson. It's the Kevin Jackson Show, kjradio.com. So glad you guys are with me. So I don't know if I heard this. One of my guys sent me the story. Apparently, the women who were sexually abused by Harvey Weinstein were blacklisted from the Golden Globes. And it's a very underreported story because these guys are, they had all the Time's Up, wearing the black dresses. By the way, did you see those black dresses? Holy cow. There was one girl in a black dress that it was like a body. You just got to see it. They had cut out the torso, like coming around the breast, cut out the torso going over to one side, then cut out the hip on another. It was stunning. It was, the girl had a shape. She was beautiful. That dress was something else. But it was funny to me. I'm thinking, you're wearing a black dress that says, time's up. Don't be messing with me. And you wear a dress like that. And I'm not saying women can't wear whatever they want. You shouldn't be messed with no matter what. But that's not exactly the representative dress, to say, time's up. Don't be looking over here. Because I was like, wow. I couldn't see, I don't know who actresses are anymore. Because I don't watch enough stuff. And but she was beautiful, and she had the body to back it up. And then they showed others, like one, I think it was that singer Mandy Moore, if I'm not mistaken. She doesn't have a whole lot of cleavage, but she was showing like what little she had. It was very visible. And again, another one of these, don't be looking at me, but look at me kind of dresses. And I was thinking, wow. And look, I get it. The designers are going to, I'll do it in black. I'm going to give you my, avant-garde design, but I can do it in black. It's okay. Yeah, these women, man, it was something else. But yeah, so they got blacklisted. The women who were attacked, the very women who should have been at this event. The very women who represented Time's Up, no more. What was the one that first brought it all out? Rose McGowan, I think that's her name, right? Is that it? Yeah. Rose McGowan. Yeah. Shapely girl, man. When Rose was young, she's not that pretty in the face, but very nice shape. Rose was hot. Harvey, she's the one who brought all this stuff to the fore. She wasn't invited. They didn't want any controversy that brought up Harvey Weinstein, even with Seth Meyers cracking jokes about him. Do we have that? We have that clip of Seth Meyers, right? We didn't play. I was going to play it the other day. Let's play it because we don't want to waste it.
Well, I think it's time to address the elephant not in the room. Harvey Weinstein isn't here tonight because, well, I've heard rumors that he's crazy and difficult to work with. But don't worry, he'll be back in 20 years when he becomes the first person ever booed during the in memoriam. It'll sound like that. Well, despite everything that happened this year, the show goes on. For example, I was happy to hear they're going to do another season of House of Cards. Is Christopher Plummer available for that too? I hope he can do a southern accent, because Kevin Spacey sure couldn't. Oh, is that too mean to Kevin Spacey?
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. That was the very unfunny Seth Meyers. I don't know what they pay these guys to do these events. It's a lot of money. You know what? I was shocked to find out when I had to do some research for what does it cost to make certain films, because we're doing a big fundraiser for our film in St. Louis, and people were asking me, Kevin, what's a film make? Why would we want to fund this? And I said, well, there's a lot of reasons. One is we need to wrestle back, control of Hollywood, of the entertainment industry. And this is a great way to do it. Kevin Sorbo, who's one of the partners in the film, Kevin did that with all the films he's been doing, and Let There Be Light was a perfect example where he utilized the grassroots and the conservative movement to it wasn't like $100-200 million film, but it was a film that made money, and it had a good message, and we need to wrestle that back. So I was doing research, and I'll give you an example. The movie Annie. The movie Annie cost $77 million to make. Now, I don't know about you, but the sun will come out tomorrow. I know what Annie's about. It's hard to believe that much money went into Annie. And if I break it out for you, it would be shocking. But these people are overpaid, to say the least. But anyway, so Seth Meyers, very unfunny, but, he beats up on Weinstein, beats up on Kevin Spacey. The whole reason for the Golden Globes, quite frankly, they set it all up as, Me Too campaign. I got, molested. I got, on the casting couch by somebody. So there was that campaign, followed by Time's Up. No more of this stuff. And then they tried to broaden that out to be everyday women in all your jobs. We know what you're going through. You're being sexually harassed. Whatever. Okay, congratulations. But then what happened? It became Oprah's night. Let's make Oprah president. So they went from protecting women and, in Hollywood to broadening the protection of women across the board to Oprah's coronation as the next president of the United States. And then, of course, you found out all the dirt about Oprah. She's a liar. She built a career on nothing but lies. Oprah was a promiscuous teenager who, and if it weren't for the strong men in her life, she'd be on the streets of probably, still prostituting. So but it became Oprah's night. And instead of what they should have done, because if Hollywood had any guts, this is what they would have done. They would have invited the women who are the very victims, the ones who's actually brought the attention of this movement to the fore. Rose McGowan. She's got a new show she's supposedly doing on E! I don't keep up with these people, but stuff comes across my desk. Asia Argento. Both of them accused Harvey Weinstein of rape. This is what acted as a catalyst for both of these movements. But as one person wrote, like Marquesa gowns were conspicuously absent from the 2018 Golden Globes. I don't even know what that means, but I presume Marquesa gowns has something to do, who got blacklisted, probably the one who made Joy Behar's Trump dress. Joy Villa's Trump dress. You know her name? Joy Villa? Joy's kind of gone off the rails too a bit, hasn't she? Oh, well. So here's where we are. One of the ladies said, I can only speak for myself, but I wasn't invited to the Golden Globes. Nobody asked my opinion about Time's Up or to sign the letter. Argento, age 42, tweeted Monday morning. I support Time's Up, even though I was excluded from it. Guess I'm not powerful or Hollywood enough. Proud to work behind the scenes. I love the snobbery and the sarcasm in that. I love it. I love the snarky way that tweet came out. Because you know what? This is one of the women who came to the front and said, this guy is not anything like you people are making him out to be. And you're disingenuous if you're protecting him. And by the way, Oprah Winfrey is the one you want to make the poster child for this? How many pictures of Oprah have you seen in the last week with Harvey Weinstein kissing on him and stuff? Let's not go too far, because you know Oprah's past. She got in the movie, with a phone call. Who knows? If Oprah was prettier, I might accuse her of something. Argento tweeted to McGowan, no one should forget that you were the first one who broke the silence. Anyone who tries to diminish your work is a troll and an enemy of the movement. You gave me the courage to speak out. I am on your side until I die. That's what Argento tweeted to Rose McGowan. You want to make a women's movement hero? Women's movement against lecherous leftism? Rose McGowan is it. And in fact, I suggest to the conservative movement, we make her that. We make her the Helen of Troy in terms of this movement. Because she's the one who's bringing down Harvey Weinstein and the Hollywood establishment to whatever degree that you can do it. Because let's face it, when this is all blown over, I guarantee you there are women and men who have no problem making the ultimate sacrifice to get to get the fame and fortune and stardom. The joke when I was in sales and I was early on in my sales career, because I was, hunky guy. I mean, I'm hunky now, but I was really good looking. And one of my bosses, I had a problem with a female buyer. And my boss says to me, well, hey, you may have to make the ultimate sacrifice. And I was like, what? And so everybody starts laughing and I got it. And I was like, oh, heck to the no. I mean, this woman was hideous. Not that I would have done it if she was pretty, but at least it would have crossed my mind. But there was no way I was going to do it with this crazy woman. Anyway, McGowan she commented back, and not one of those fancy people wearing black to honor our rapes would have lifted a finger had it not been so. I have no time for Hollywood fakery, but I love you, Asia Argento. Look, ladies, congratulations to you both for doing what you did. And shame on you, Hollyweird.
Kevin Jackson on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
I mentioned Donald Trump had a discussion with the Democrats on DACA, And I want to play a little bit of that discussion because I think it's an interesting discussion. We're going to play the entire thing. Then I want to play something else. I want you to get that Obama clip. Obama discussed DACA at the time that it was done, and I want you to hear about that because that's very revealing. And it's also the death knell of the program the way the Democrats want it to go. Because all Trump has to do is say, well, look, here's what the president said at the time. But anyway, I want to start by playing the meeting because I think that meeting was it was such an amazing thing for Trump to put together. We talked about it in the first hour, but now here's the entire clip. We're just getting to it, but I don't want to I said I was going to play it, and I want to make sure that we do what we said.
Yeah, I would like to do it. Go ahead. I think a lot of people would like to see that, but I think we have to do DACA first.
Mr. President, you need to be clear, though. I think what Senator Feinstein's asking here, when we talk about just DACA, we don't want to be back here 2 years later. You have to have security, as the Secretary would tell you.
But I think that's what she's saying.
I think she's saying something different. I'm thinking you're saying DACA without security. Are you talking about security as well?
Well, I think if we have some meaningful, comprehensive immigration reform, that's really where the security goes. And if we could get the DACA bill, because March is coming and people are losing their status every day.
But let's be honest with you. Security was voted on just a few years ago. And no disrespect, there's people in the room on the other side of the aisle who voted for it. If I recall, Senator Clinton voted for it. So I don't think that's comprehensive. I think that's dealing with DACA at the same time. I think that's really what the president's making. It's kind of like three pillars. DACA, because we're all in the room want to do it. Border security, so we're not back out here, and chain migration. It's just three items, and then everything else that's comprehensive is kind of moved to the side. So I believe when the president talks about DACA and the lottery,
and I think you should add merit. I mean, if you can, add merit-based. No, I don't think. I don't know who's going to argue with merit-based. Who can argue with merit-based? Diane, go ahead.
Do you really think that there can be agreement?
We can do it.
Quickly, to get DACA passed in time, I wanted to ask Mr. McCarthy a question. Do you really think there can be agreement on those three difficult subjects you raise in time to get DACA passed and effective? So
yes, because you have heard from Leader McConnell and Speaker Ryan, who said they will put the bill onto the floor if the president agrees to it. And us getting to the room, I haven't seen us be this close and having this discussion in quite a few years of the whole last 4 years. So I think, yes, we can make this happen.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. You got to love it. Had a listener to the program. He's out of Salem. And he says, I listen in Salem, Oregon, the land of liberals, progressives, and weird governors. And he says, I suggest the following. He says, charge $5 for all private vehicles coming into the U.S., $10 for commercial vehicles. Call it a tax. It'll face less hate when it comes up for vote in the House and the Senate. Use the money to assist with the cost of an already approved border wall. Hire more agents, build the base of operations closer to the borders to reduce travel time. Simultaneously announce that there will be a joint Homeland Security, ATF, FBI task force to root out the numerous cartels operating in the U.S. Other illegals are not part of the target, but if located, they will be deported. They already have that type of a policy, by the way. There's a 30-day window for all non-cartel illegals to leave the country and apply for re-entry with no prejudice. Also, all DACA-eligible children are allowed to apply for green cards as part of the program. They must renounce their citizenship to their parents' homeland, and the parents must also agree to being vetted as part of their own separate green card application. If the parents fail the vetting process, whole families deported. Trump to issue a statement that chain migration policy is rescinded immediately. As part of the policy, as long as there's high unemployment with homegrown STEM graduates, announce tighter standards on temporary visas for competitors to unemployed or underemployed citizens. And he says he wanted to recommend a comprehensive solution. Some good points, some points that could be argued. And this is why I say this is the type of legislation where Donald Trump has him by the yin-yang, because it's difficult to say this is the way it should be, because somebody could go, well, should we really do this part of it, or couldn't we nuance this here or there? Should DACA eligible children be able to apply for green cards? Should their parents, should everybody be deported if one of them can't, has got some sketchy stuff? I already said earlier, there should be very strict requirements on DACA. You can't get into any trouble or you're gone. We should be changing the way our culture behaves based on this. You want to be a part of this country? Psst, you can't be committing crime. I mean, what better way to go about that? Anyway, I appreciate. I forget who sent this, so I apologize. You guys didn't give me a name, but I appreciate it. Glad you sent it to me. This is going to be a contentious issue. I think they will come up with something. And as I said earlier, the one good thing about this is, and you notice how Trump added the things that he wanted to be discussed when they went through the different issues that they wanted to. That Dianne Feinstein were talking about. They go, well, first of all, there's DACA, then there's chain migration, and then security, then chain migration. And the guy was like, and that's pretty much it. Everything else is outside. And then Trump goes, no, we got to end the lottery. We have a lottery system that just says by virtue of somebody drawing in another country, you're going to go get our Somali terrorist. No. And then he says, and what about merit-based? What are you talking about? Who's going to disagree with merit-based? And they were already trying to disagree. Anyway, I want to play the Obama clip. This is where the left gets in the biggest trouble with DACA, is with what Barack Obama himself said when the program went into place. And here's that clip.
Next few months, eligible individuals who do not present a risk to national security or public safety will be able to request temporary relief from deportation proceedings and apply for work authorization. Now, let's be clear. This is not amnesty. This is not immunity. This is not a path to citizenship. It's not a permanent fix. This is a temporary stopgap measure that lets us focus our resources wisely while giving a degree of relief and hope to talented, driven, patriotic young people. It is the right thing to do. Excuse me, sir. It's not time for questions, sir. Not while I'm speaking.
Welcome back. Oh, my gosh. When Obama tries to sound authoritative, it sounds so weak. Is it just me? It's the Kevin Jackson Show, everybody. kjradio.com. So what did he say? See, because this is where I would come back to the folks on the Democrat side, and I'd say, look, I'm going to tell you right now. In fact, this is what I would go to court on. Can you imagine the judge that stopped Donald Trump from rescinding an illegal executive order, and he says, look, here's everything this man said. It's providing temporary relief. It's not amnesty. It's not immunity. It's not a path to citizenship. I mean, that you could stop right there. Now, what do we know? It certainly isn't a permanent fix. He called it a temporary stopgap, and it would give a degree of hope. Now, he did this in 2012. 2012. So it's gone through 5 years now, with no action. And finally, a president who says, let's take a look at this. You guys have been wanting to talk about it. I'm rescinding it, putting it back into Congress. By the way, that's what's supposed to happen. I keep coming back to the authoritative, the totalitarian, authoritarian that these leftists keep talking about. The guy who's dumb says, we have to follow the law. I remove the executive order. And what does he do? He gives it back to Congress. And then, in his very lopsided way, he brings in a consensus that says, let's have a bipartisan, open discussion, transparent to the public about what we want to do. I'm willing to work with you. You think, folks, this isn't going to backfire on the Democrats? And Trump, here's what's interesting. Trump's not doing it for political ploy. He's doing it because he really wants to work with the Democrats to find a solution, but that solution better be in the best interest of the country. Donald Trump is saying to himself, look, I appreciate these kids. I appreciate their situation. If I were one of them, I would feel for how I got here and what is the unknown if I have to go back to a country I know nothing about. I feel for them. I'm willing to look at that. I'm willing to concede that. But I'm not going to do it at the cost of Americans who paid their dues.
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.